Hello, booktube. Welcome to another episode of Big Book Haul. I went to my local library's annual book sale for the first time ever this year because I've been away in California in college, and I got some books, and more than just some books. I've got most of the books that I've really been thinking about for, I don't even know, for the last, like I've said, or recently, in the last year of my reading life, just kind of learning the landscape of the canon. I've never bought so many books in my entire life. I've never had such great deals also. I've been to a local used bookstore before, but looking back on it, those books were kind of expensive, and these were $2 for a paperback and $4 for a hardback, which is great. Sometimes it's $1 for a paperback, but anyhow, I am really excited right now. This is kind of like Christmas for me, particularly because this Christmas I was sick in bed literally all day. So this is going to be kind of my year's treat for myself. I think we're just going to jump right in. I've not taken these out of the bags that are just off screen. I'm just going to start pulling them out based on what's at the top. Yeah, this is probably going to be a bit of a long video just because I love to share and talk about this. So no need to watch it all. Maybe just sit back, drink some coffee, take a nap. Let's just hang out and spend some time together talking about some books. I know I normally have an excitable personality, but right now I'm especially a bit, there's probably a better word for just excited, but I am very excited, and I'm going to have to kind of tone things down a bit. But first and foremost, I want to get into a brief category of what kind of books I got. The lowest category are books that I've heard of that I know virtually nothing about, but I know I would like to read just based on the little nugget of information I have. The second category are of classics that I know I do want to read, that I saw and not only have name recognition, but also have some sort of pull. And the third, the highest category, are the ones that I have actively been looking for and really want to read quickly. Like if I had a TBR, they would be pretty close to number 1 or 2 on the TBR. But the first book that I just picked up and is now in my hands is in the bottom category, the tier 1, which is Don Juan by Lord Byron. And the reason I got this is just because I've seen lots of allusions to it in other books. And come to think of it, I don't even know where I've seen those allusions. But it's just the story of a rascal, and it looks cool. It's a Penguin classic, so I had to grab it. And a very interesting, scary, creepy cover, which is always nice. It's actually a nice cover, and I like the painting. But anyways, Don Juan, Lord Byron. Next, right on the top, is Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. This was first published under a different title, which had a racial slur in it from the British nursery rhyme, and is now in this form. And the reason I got this is because it's probably the Agatha Christie novel which I know the most about, particularly because there is a 1940s adaptation of this movie that is a huge comfort movie for myself. It was free on YouTube for a period of time in about 4 or 5 pixels, and it was a really, really great watch. And these days it's just free on all of those free streaming platforms on the internet. But this will be exciting. This will be a good, how should I put it? A bit of a counterweight to something like The Tale of Genji, which is very long and not very plot focused, because this is relatively short and very, well, I don't want to say very plot focused, but it's a murder mystery, so it's got plot. So I'm excited about that. Next is Virginia Woolf, Mrs. Dalloway. In, I think his name's L.E. Doctorow. In his introduction of Moby Dick into the Library of America, he mentioned a couple of books that challenged the narrative form, and he mentioned Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway as being a book that strove to exist without a plot, and that's fascinating. I have read To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf, and I really enjoyed it, but I read it far too quickly because I was reading it for a class, and I don't think I savored her writing like I should. So this will be an opportunity for me to give her more time until I give To the Lighthouse a reread. So Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. We're speeding through these. This is going to go quicker than I thought. Next, this is a twofer. These are The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. I have read a good chunk of Huckleberry Finn in high school. I think in my AP Lit class, I was assigned a section of this, and the other class, the other half of the class was assigned to the other half of the book, which is, I want to say on behalf of the teacher that I understand that she was trying to make sure that we got through it, and we had, a lot of the students had lots of AP classes, and that we actually read instead of just spark notes, whatever we were doing. But how are you going to assign half of this book? This book was so good, and I read in good faith, with good intentions, a part of this section that I wasn't assigned, but then I got swept up in schoolwork. So I've never actually read this front to back, which is a shame. So I'm very excited to do that. I think I'll read Tom Sawyer first because it's technically chronologically first in the story. But what can you say about these books? They're part of the American canon. I'm from the South, so, they kind of have a special place here in a sense. So Mark Twain. I haven't read anything else by Mark Twain. I want to read Roughing It, and I would love to read A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. But those, I think, should come first. Next, is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I should hold these books a little closer. You know what I'm going to do in this video? I'm going to reverse it. I don't like to reverse it for some reason, but so right now, you'll be reading this and it won't be backwards. But as I'm seeing it on the screen, it is backwards. It's one of those weird, probably vanity focused things of I'm just used to seeing my face like this, and whenever I reverse it, I'm like, oh man, I look weird. So I just reverse it, but who cares about that? I'm just going to reverse it, and you can actually read Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I love this cover, by the way. Penguin Classics often chooses these, let me try not to get the glare, often chooses these really nice paintings for their covers, as opposed to probably my least favorite book cover, which is a shot of the live-action movie adaptation on the cover, which is always such a waste to me. So I love this cover. My understanding of this book is that it's very misty and shrouded. It is, of course, one of the three Bronte sisters' masterpieces, and I found this book surrounded by the other Bronte sisters' books and basically flipped through editions to see which ones didn't have annotations. I have Jane, this is Jane Austen, so we'll see other Bronte sisters' books. Like I said, it's not organized, but yeah, that's Wuthering Heights. That'll be very exciting. I always mentally compartmentalize Wuthering Heights alongside Middlemarch for some reason. And I'm hoping that as I get to know them better, as I read them, that'll go away, because I've frequently said the wrong one. The next book is, I haven't really even said what category these books are in. I would say Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte goes into the middle category of, I'd like to read this. It has some sort of appeal to me. It's not just a name drop. Mark Twain, I have read these, or I've read Huckleberry Finn a little bit. Virginia Woolf, I would genuinely like to read. Agatha Christie and Then There Were None, I think, falls into the first tier. I've been looking for that book, and I'm really excited to read it. I'll try to keep doing that just because it makes things a little bit more organized. Next is, when I saw these on the bookshelves, I was grinning like I am right now. It was all of the Jane Austen works, just all right next to each other in paperbacks, in different publications. And again, I just looked for the ones that didn't seem like they were in too bad of a shape and weren't annotated by a student who didn't really care about their annotations and was just highlighting random words like I used to do. So this one is Northanger Abbey. I know nothing about Northanger Abbey, just that it's one of the Jane Austen books. So that's that, but I'm so excited to have it because I can't wait to read all of her books. I read Pride and Prejudice twice, and Emma might be my next read post Brothers Karamazov, Tale of Genji, because I opened it after I just did my most recent reading text tag video, just because it was right next to me, and just read the first paragraph and thought, ooh, that's delightful. So anyways, Jane Austen books, we'll see more of those. I got the rest of them. I have Emma and Pride and Prejudice, and I got the other 4 here, so I'm so excited. Next, this is, I know in all my videos I'm always like grinning in every frame, and part of that might be just because I'm like excited and nervous to be making booktube videos, but right now I am just genuinely like filled with happiness and gratitude about this experience. This has been amazing. Okay, cool. This is Beloved by Toni Morrison. I picked up this one, and this is a nice, beautiful kind of not pure white, kind of eggshelly hardcover, and this falls into kind of the first category. And I don't mean to say that this first category is lesser in quality. This is just in what I know about the books. But I know very little about this beyond mentions it has had on BookTube from different booktubers talking about books they love. funnily enough, Beloved is a book that I think is truly beloved by like a lot of people, and is a lot of people's favorite book. It's kind of one of those kinds of books. So I saw this, and I've heard Toni Morrison's name a lot, but beyond that, I really knew nothing about it. There's a nice angel on the cover, so that's very pretty. Okay. More Jane Austen. This is a hardcover of Mansfield Park. There was another edition of Mansfield Park, but it was one of those editions that looks far too drenched in academia. It had strange liminal graphic design and no heart. So this hardcover has a pretty nice dust jacket. I think that the graphic design is a little bit barren, but the painting is always nice. I'm a sucker for paintings as book covers. Yeah, anyways, and there's this beautiful, it's just a Modern Library Giant, these dancers. This reminds me of Howl's Moving Castle, actually, the film by Hayao Miyazaki, when the stars are dancing on the field. Anyways, again, I don't know a single thing about, I couldn't tell you a single character's name from this book, beyond that it's Jane Austen, and that I know I have to read all the Jane Austen books. Have to read, I want to read. Okay, moving on. I think there's a batch of hardcovers here, so I'm going to try to do the paperbacks first. Here you have George Eliot, Middlemarch. My connection to this book, this falls into Northanger Abbey, kind of middle. Mansfield Park, I should say. Mansfield Park, middle category of like, I wasn't actively searching it out, but I wanted it. This is probably into the top category. This is probably, I don't know if I've said 1 or 3 for top category, but I'm going to call it 1 from now on, and the bottom one 3. But tier 1 for Middlemarch, and mostly because this is my aunt's favorite book. And she's a reader, and her description of it to me was a classic infectious description of someone who loves something. Nothing will make you want to experience something like someone else loving it. That's true for music, it's true for film, and it's especially true for books, and it's probably the central reason why I watch BookTube, is to watch you guys talk excitedly about the books you love. So my aunt did that with Middlemarch, and so I'm very excited to read it. It's quite long, it looks like. I thought that it was a little bit shorter, kind of alongside Wuthering Heights, but I don't know, it's not crazy long. It's probably just one of those books you live in. Yes, this is very much a Steve Donahue book, and it's Anthony Trollope, The Way We Live Now. I would say I am really interested in Anthony Trollope just because of Steve's excitement over his novels. So I would probably put this in the middle category. The only thing I know about The Way We Live Now compared to other Trollope novels is that it is a bit of an excoriating novel of contemporary times, and that, like any novel that examines its present and finds flaws in it, you can, of course, do that with your own place and time. Not that that's the only point, but it's always fun to see that we humans are all kind of in the same boat. Yes! This is category number 1, tier 1, baby. Dracula by Bram Stoker. This, for one thing, I love this. Just like a tree with a faint crescent moon. I wish the glare weren't so bad. Let's see, does that work? It's still pretty glary. There's just lights in this room, I guess. But I like that little faint crescent moon up there. I've been searching for this for a long time, and I've gone to my local, one of my local used bookstores to find a copy of this, and I found paperbacks for this that were like $13, and I just didn't buy it. I knew a day would come when I could get it for cheap, and I did today, and it's a beautiful Signet classic, very compact. These books that are printed in this way, where the text has a very, very small margin and is pretty deeply set, like it really feels like ink on a page. These books always look shorter than they actually are. I have a copy of Moby Dick like this that's printed similarly. It actually may be a Signet classic. It's either Signet or Bantam. But they look so slim and friendly, and then they actually just take a long time to read. But I like that about them too, because they're very portable. And I think what I'll do with books like this is reinforce them with packing tape and take them as travel copies, especially because there's a high likelihood that I leave this country and go to a particular country in May. But we'll see how that goes. Yes, Persuasion by Jane Austen. And this is my aforementioned aunt's favorite Jane Austen book. She's kind of one of my family members who is a reader and who is inspirational to me. So Persuasion, this is very great. Again, don't know very much about it. Yep. Tier 2. This is sweet. This is probably the shortest book I got, and it's J.D. Salinger's, Salinger or Salinger, I'm not sure, Fanny and Zoe. And this has come up in my own life in some ways, not because I've read it, but because people have talked to me about it when I've talked to them about my life. And so it has some sort of heart, I don't even know how to put it. I have some sort of heart connection to this book already before even reading it, and that's maybe because The Catcher in the Rye was one of the books that made me fall in love with reading. I've read The Catcher in the Rye a couple of times, and it was one of the earliest books that I would actually recommend to other people and feel confident that they would like it, and then had success stories with that. Two in particular, two people who I was very close to, and one of whom who I'm still very close to, read Catcher in the Rye and loved it. So reading more J.D. Salinger's works will be really great for me. Plus, this is a very beautiful, understated, kind of orange, pink cover, and I really like it. So, yeah. We're 15 minutes in and about halfway done, so I hope that I'm not taking too much time on these. I know I'm trying to speak quickly like I normally do in these videos because I always have so much to say. But next is The Decameron by Boccaccio. The Decameron falls into probably tier 2, maybe close to tier 1 on the lower side of things. My knowledge of this book is pretty limited. I see it in my own head as a sort of adjacent work to the Canterbury Tales. The premise of this, I haven't really been saying anything about these books if I know anything about them, so I think I'll start now. The premise of the Decameron is that all of these, I think, noble people retreat up into the hills when a plague sweeps through their town and tell stories, similarly to the kind of plot framing structure of the Canterbury Tales, where they're visiting, oh my gosh, Thomas Beckett's grave. I almost said Samuel Beckett's grave. So yeah, it's a great way to just compile little vignette stories, and this is one of the great canonical works. This is kind of one of those canonical works that's not because it actually is, but it has gathered a dusty reputation. So let's see if it is dusty. I can't wait. This kind of thing is going to be on my shelf for a while. The books that I have here, they might last me years. There's no way I'm going to read them all in a year. So certainly, like, between probably 2 and 4 years of reading. It's just so exciting. Another big book, and this is Don Quixote by Cervantes. Don Quixote is, it's one of those rare works that is known chiefly throughout the world by a single illusion, which is Don Quixote tilting at windmills. The amount of times I've heard that expression almost verbatim in my life is probably around like 30 to 50. Like, people just say tilt at windmills all the time, and you know immediately what they're talking about. But I look at the size of this book and you think, there's got to be more than just tilting at windmills. There's got to be something to this that's really good beyond just that farcical funniness. So I'm really excited. I've heard that the first half is better than the second half. Whatever. We can't all be perfect. So thank you, Cervantes, for this one. I love this cover, by the way. Again, getting me with the paintings, but look how long that lance is. Are there windmills in the background? I don't see any, so. Also, I'm forgetting his name, his sidekick's name. Is it Sancho? Pancho? I forget. But he's not present, so I wonder where he is. All right, and we're almost done with this first bag, which is the main bag. Next, this is one of the rare instances in which I got a hardcover instead of a paperback that was nearby, and this is John Milton's Paradise Lost. And I don't particularly love this cover. It feels a little bit, I hate to say this, feels a little bit modern and too, like, fantasy novel-y. Not anything against fantasy novels, but that doesn't seem to suit it as well. But let's see actually what happens if I take off the dust jacket. Oh, it's the exact same thing, so that's not going to help me. But it has illustrations by Gustave Doré. And these illustrations, like engravings, are just, they're just unbelievable. They're so beautiful. So this will be a great reading experience to have this big hardcover that you can kind of just keep on your lap and look at these engravings. I'm really excited for this. This is Cervantes. I keep forgetting my heckin' tiers. Cervantes, probably tier 1. Sorry, Cervantes. Decameron, also probably lower. And this one is probably tier 2. I haven't been actively searching for it, but it really excited me when I saw it. So I'm stoked. Paradise Lost. Okay. Now we got some cool hardcovers. Yes. This is $4. This is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, The Celebrated Cases of Sherlock Holmes. It is almost all of them. It's all the novels, I believe. It has Hunt of the Baskervilles, Study in Scarlet. I mean, it's just beautiful. It's kind of one of those slightly spongy books. You know, you can kind of like feel padding in it, and it's got that gold leaf. I mean, this just makes it feel like a king, and it's illustrated. So how beautiful is that? This looks good on a bookshelf too. I don't love the orange color, but I love the red spine. So very beautiful. Okay, and next hardcover is Jane Eyre. So here's next to the Bronte sisters, and this has a nice little pamphlet, and it's just a beautiful hardcover with this split tree. Don't know a single thing about this book beyond that it's one of the Bronte sisters books, and then I used to associate it naturally with Jane Austen just because it's kind of in a similar period of time in history, and has Lord Jane in it. But very excited. I put it next to the other Bronte sister, but I don't think I can find her. Okay, this is the last of this bag, and this is the only Charles Dickens book that I got, and it's David Copperfield in this beautiful green edition, which is so funny because not that I have wicked, sharp synesthesia, but I associate the words David Copperfield with the color green. What color do you associate it with? It also has that gold leaf, which is really nice. This is exciting because I read A Christmas Carol for the first time recently. Oh, it's got the same Reader's Digest pamphlet as Jane Eyre, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, I just read A Christmas Carol and found his prose to be so delightful and full of joy in life. As you can probably tell, that's something that I really value, and I try to incorporate within myself. So I hope that David Copperfield is more of the same. I know that this book is a bit of a semi-autobiographical work of Dickens, so we'll see how I like it. I would say this falls into category 2, but maybe even category 1. I've been looking for Dickens books, and this is probably the one that I wanted the most, so very excited. All right, gosh, I'm just looking at these on these shelves, and it just makes me happy, makes me very happy. All right, this is the only other bag that I had, and I will begin with this, J.R.R. Tolkien's The Silmarillion. For those of you who are fans of fantasy, you will be familiar with this, but for those of you who don't know anything about it, this is sort of, how should I put this? Tolkien wrote The Lord of the Rings, and it's set in what Christopher Tolkien, his son, would call the secondary world, kind of maybe the broad legendarium. And within that world, it includes Middle-earth. A lot of people call the Tolkien universe Middle-earth because that's kind of how it's been branded in our modern age. But it's not just Middle-earth, it's kind of a whole mythos. It's a whole, set, I wouldn't even call it a religion, but there's a truth of gods and creation and being. And a lot of those epic early stories were just kind of mini vignettes, sometimes long stories that were not really organized, that Christopher Tolkien, after J.R.R. Tolkien's death, compiled into a single work. So this is sort of Christopher Tolkien's main legacy as his father's son in a literary sense. And I'm really excited to read it because I recently finished listening to The Lord of the Rings on Audible for the second time. I haven't said this actually yet, and I'm sure this will get buried because it's 23 minutes into a video, but one thing that I have done for the last 4 years of my life throughout maybe every single week or at least month is that I've been listening to those books on repeat. It's sort of a comfort because the narrator, Rob Inglis, has a really great voice, and a voice that I heard a lot growing up when I did car trips with my dad. But I recently finished my second go-around, and I was cooking, I was doing French bread. In the bakery I work at, I do the breakfast shift in the morning. That's when I bake all the croissants, and I, boil the bagels in malt water and arrange them in egg wash and everything and make the bagels. And then I pre-shape French bread and then shape it, and then I bake it. And the baking of the French bread is sort of the most chill part of the day. I have burns on my hands, so it's not that chill, but there's free time. Instead of running around doing a million things, I'm only focused on one thing. So that's at the point of the day where I listen to things, maybe music, but most of the time I listen to The Lord of the Rings. And I was listening to The Return of the King, and I was at the end of the book. And this is a bit of a spoiler, so if you have not read Lord of the Rings and you don't want to get it spoiled, then skip ahead in the video to the part where I wave my hands frantically in the air, and then I'll signal that the spoiler's done. But anyways, I was at the part in the book where Sam and Frodo are journeying to the Grey Havens, and Sam learns for the first time, or it comes to him, that Frodo's leaving. He's leaving Middle-earth, and that the wounds of the journey, both physical and emotional, are too great for him to bear in this world, and that he needs to leave it behind. And Rob Inglis does a great job narrating this, and he says, "You're leaving me," just something like Sam's saying, and I'm baking this French bread, and I just start feeling like the tears, and I say nope, and I turn it off, and I finish my day at work, and I wake up the next morning, which just happens to be my day off, and one of my days off, and I make breakfast, drink some water, put in my earbuds, and I lie down on my couch, and I listen to the rest of Lord of the Rings and just kind of leak tears. And very few books really do that to me in this way. Some books tug at your heartstrings because a character dies or something, and you know why you're crying. But in this case, it's more than that, because it's that you're leaving more than just a person behind. You're leaving that world behind. And not to get all philosophical, but whatever real means, whatever, this cord is real because it's physically there, it also includes the things that it does to you, I think. The things that are around me do things to me emotionally. And books are doing things to me, and the people in those books, the characters in those books, they're not real people, but the characters in them are doing things to me too, and they exist in a way that is real. And leaving that behind is a special kind of sadness, but it's strangely content. There's this heartwarming feeling to finishing a great work of art that exists and is real somewhere, and you have to leave it, and it's not going to continue because it's only a work of art. But the Lord of the Rings will do that to you. If you give it the time, it will work its magic on you, and you'll miss it when it's over. Anyways, that's a pretty long anecdote, but I only bring that up to say that this is going to be a pretty good hug, or maybe just an arm around the shoulder, because it's more of the world. It's not the story of Frodo and Sam, but it's the world. And so after having that experience with Lord of the Rings, I really was happy to see this and kind of felt a little bit consoled. So there's a little Lord of the Rings story. And I might as well dig for it, because I also found a single volume edition of Lord of the Rings with the aforementioned cover that is a still shot of the live action movie, which I personally don't like. Do you agree with me? Do you think that this looks kind of just cheap? I don't know. The text doesn't look like it quite works. I mean, I love Gandalf, and I love Ian. I'm blanking on his last name for some reason. Ian McKellen. I think it's Ian McKellen's performance, but I don't know if I really want to see his face on the cover of my book. So what I'm going to do to this book is what I did to the Brothers Karamazov, which is just make my own cover. I'm going to rip it off, and I'm going to make a cover, and that's going to take me a couple hours, and it'll be a great arts and crafts project. But I'll reinforce that, and I'll have a travel copy of Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion. All right, I'm done talking about those because that was a long time, but I hope you enjoyed those anecdotes. These are category 1. These are the top of the pops. I just love those stories. They've been with me for years. Okay, well, anyways, unrelated, but here's The Hobbit. This is just the greatest. Of all the Lord of the Rings books that I've read, I actually prefer The Hobbit, which is an unpopular opinion, but I'll tell you why. It's because I'm going to talk 20 more minutes about the Middle-earth. I'll tell you why I love The Hobbit more. It's because the style that it's written in is not totally omniscient. Tolkien, sometimes, in his high style in Lord of the Rings, which sometimes becomes straight up biblical, he sometimes admits that there's knowledge that's not known, but for the most part, he knows everything. Everything that there is to know, he'll write in the appendices, and information isn't known to certain characters, but Tolkien knows it all. But the style of The Hobbit, I don't know how to put it in good terms, but it's like they're street smarts. It's more loose, it's funnier, and sometimes he'll have a sentence in the book that's as everyone seems to know, that trolls turn to stone in the morning. That is, unless, and it'll kind of go on, and there's a common knowledge that people know, more than just the high style, and I really prefer that. This is also just an excellent story. And I'm not to, throw more negative gasoline on the fire, but such a sad story to see Peter Jackson's production company rushing him into making 3 movies when this would have served so well in the format of a miniseries, because it doesn't translate very easily into a 3-act movie, but it has these chapters that are perfect 45 to hour-long episodes. The trolls, you've got the barrels, you've got the spiders in Mirkwood Forest, I don't know why I'm doing a southern accent, but this is just an incredible book. This is one of the books I want to read to my children. It's joyful, it's loving. My computer is shutting off because 30 minutes just went by. But yeah, amazing, The Hobbit. If you want to get into J.R.R. Tolkien, start here. It's very fun. And Rob Inglis naturally does a great job of narrating them. It's the Iliad. It's the greatest book of all time, according to Steve Donahue. You know it, you love it, you gotta read it. It's tier 1. I should say that I read, I think I read the Iliad in its entirety when I was in 8th or 9th grade. So a lot went over my head, but I remember really enjoying certain sections of it. And I forgot to wave my arms. This is the point of the video where I'm done talking about spoilers for Lord of the Rings. I forgot to do that, so if you just came to this part of the video because I waved my arms, you can go back a minute or two because I finished talking about spoilers. But anyways, I remember a part of the Iliad. This is also a spoiler, so I'm going to have to wave my arms again. But at the very end of the Iliad, Hector is getting chased around Troy by Achilles. And he begs for his life in the most old sense of the word, pitiful sense, deserving pity. It is pitiful, but it's in our modern sense, but in the way that Melville would use it in Moby Dick when he calls the port is pitiful. Hector is pitiful. He pleads with Achilles, please let my family have my body. I know that you're about to kill me. And then he just completely, what's the word? Forgetting, but he throws his spear at Achilles, knowing that it's just not going to do anything. It glances off Achilles' shield, and Achilles is this indomitable force moving towards him with malice, and Hector's just pleading for his life, and he gets no mercy at all. And that scene, I can't describe how it moved me, because just saying it in words out loud, it's not moving me, and it probably is not trying to be self-deprecating, but it's probably not moving you. It's like, oh, a guy just kills another guy and he doesn't care. It's more than that. If you read this book, you start to feel certain things about these characters that is capital T truth. It is really special. And it worked that on me, and it's really definitely worth reread. I was saying in an earlier video that it might be the next thing I reread /read, but I might do Jane Austen's Emma because I think I need a bit more splash of fun. Okay. I don't know what this book is, but I just picked it up. Moby Dick by Herman Melville. This is just another paperback edition. I am going to go read the introduction to this because I have a new hobby of reading introductions. 2 days ago, I walked to a local coffee shop, and they had the Penguin Classic hardcover cloth bound of Moby Dick, and I just read the introduction, because why not? And it was great. So I'm going to read this introduction and then keep this copy and give it as a gift copy, probably. And if you don't know anything about Moby Dick, then go watch my video on it. More seafaring adventure books, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. Moby Dick, by the way, is my favorite book, so that exceeds all categories. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is probably tier 3. Sorry, Jules Verne. I read the children's abridged picture version when I was in elementary school and thought it was super cool. I just grabbed this, I'm in the classic section at this book sale, and there's people around me, and I'm just like, if I see something, I'm just going to grab it without thinking too much about it. But I don't know if this is a good translation. And I know that this is an author who famously has bad translations, but the story of Captain Nemo, that's all I know about it. Okay, and 3 more books, and then it's over. This is, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, 100 Years of Solitude. I watched a TED Ed video about this about 6 years ago, and it's been on my mental radar since, and besides that, I know nothing about it. Tier 1. I'm running out of space for my freaking books. Second to last book, the penultimate book. I've saved maybe the best for last, but the penultimate book is Ernest Hemingway, and it's a farewell to arms. This is the book that I've heard of Hemingway that has the deepest emotional impact. I have read American Paris, not American Paris, A Movable Feast. I'm thinking he is an American in Paris, an Immovable Feast, and I really enjoyed A Movable Feast, but of course it's mostly nonfiction, and I love the story of he and F. Scott Fitzgerald running around and going up into different parts of France, but Hemingway's style has never really entranced me in the way that other people sometimes describe it. And I don't want to be too cynical, but sometimes I get the feeling that when people talk about Hemingway, they're more kind of enamored with the figure than they really are with his writing. But I've heard that this book is actually really good. There was a lot of other Hemingway there, but I only grabbed this one because my brother said that this ending really moved him. So So I got it. And the last book ever, not ever, but the last book from this amazing book haul is The Complete Works of William Shakespeare in a single beautiful red velvet cover, hardcover. And it's illustrated. So, I mean, look at that. It's like a peacock feather. I don't know what the term for this is, but like interior. I mean, this is like the onion skin. Oh, just so beautiful. There was a downstairs, that's where I got every single book I've just showed you. Downstairs of the $2 to $4. And this is like the special upstairs room. And I said, I'll get one book from this. So I did. And I am just super duper excited to have all the Shakespeare because I have on my shelf all of these Shakespeare books from different publishers. And they don't look that good next to each other. And some of them have the same academia schnob that I didn't really like earlier. So I just love that I'm going to have one beautiful edition that I can open up and read. I don't think I've ever really read a whole book in a collected volume besides Type E in a collected thing, which is by Herman Melville, of Type E, Omu, and Marty. So it'll be a new experience for me. But yeah, that's Shakespeare. You may have heard of him. So I'm very excited. I've read Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, King Lear. No, I haven't read King Lear. The Tempest is what I meant to say. And Hamlet, of course. That's what I've read of him, and all of them I think went over my head except for Macbeth because I read it multiple times. So I'm really excited. So yes, boom, done. That's my book haul. I'm so sorry that it was 36 minutes long, unless you really enjoyed it, in which case, thank you for watching to the very end. I hope you have a great day, and yeah, I'm excited to get to these books. I have no idea what I'm going to read first, but I'm going to go do some bookshelf organizing. So hope you have a wonderful February 20-somethingth. I think it's the 21st. And I'll see you next time, BookTube. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.